Man in America podcast, hosted by OG FOXXIE. Welcome back to Black Men in America podcast. I'm your host, OG FOXXIE. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the contrasting leadership styles of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So let's get started. Vice President Harris said, "I urge everyone to look up Project 2025.
I urge everyone to look up Project 2025, which is his plan if he is elected president again. Google it. And you'll see the plan that he has that includes getting rid of Medicare, Social Security, and all of those things that are to the benefit of, again, the basic dignity of all people, and in particular, working people. Look, I come from the middle class. My mother was a working woman who raised me and my sister. My mother was able to finally, she saved up to be able to afford to buy a home by the time I was a teenager. I know everyone has ambition, works hard, has aspirations, but doesn't necessarily have all the resources that other people have. Access to healthcare should not be a function of how much money you have in your back pocket.
Project 2025 is a threat to all Americans." Kamala said, "The role of a leader is not to beat people down, it's to lift people up."
Let's talk about something you would do different from Donald Trump. Right now, there is a monster storm barreling towards my state of Florida, a place that's still reeling from Hurricane Helene. Trump is lying, claiming that the Biden administration is intentionally withholding aid from the areas where Republicans live, and that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants. Ironically, that is something he did in 2019. What do you think the effect of these lies are, and why is he doing this?
It's profound, and it is the height of irresponsibility and, frankly, callousness. Yeah. So lives are literally at stake right now. I traveled to Georgia and to North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. In Georgia, I met a woman who, just days earlier, her husband was killed in their home by a fallen tree. Days later, I met with her and her daughter. You can imagine the pain, the shock that they are still in about what they experienced, what they witnessed. I mean, we're talking about real human beings and their lives, and them losing everything. Everything. This woman lost her husband, her child lost her father. People are losing their home with no hope of ever being able to reconstruct or return. And the idea that somebody would be playing political games for the sake of himself, but this is so consistent about Donald Trump. He puts himself before the needs of others. I fear that he really lacks empathy on a very basic level, to care about the suffering of other people and then understand the role of a leader is not to beat people down, it's to lift people up. Absolutely. Especially in a time of crisis.
Trump just bitches and complains. He never leads. Vice President Harris said, "I recently did an event with Liz Cheney."
Look, I just recently did an event with Liz Cheney, the former congresswoman. Her father, the former vice president, Dick Cheney, has supported me.
Unbelievable.
There are over 200 former members of both Bush presidencies, John McCain, Mitt Romney, who have endorsed me. Right. Leading thinkers in the national security space are supporting me. And frankly, one of the things that I'm very proud of that we have done collectively is we really are building a coalition around some very fundamental issues, including that we love our country and that we have to put country before party. We have to agree about the sacred of the oath we take to defend the Constitution of the United States, to support the Constitution of the United States. And I do believe the closer we get to the election, the more that people reflect on what's at stake. Including the fact that the former president tried to undo the will of the people in a free and fair election on January 6th, led what was a violent attack on the United States Capitol. 140 uniformed law enforcement officers were attacked. Yes. Some died. I have seen from people who are former Trump supporters who are supporting me that was a bridge too far. And back to the point about even the hurricanes that are the one that's about to hit Florida, what has already hit, I think people are exhausted. Yeah. And they're exhausted with the lies. They're exhausted with the selfishness. They're exhausted with the attempt to divide us as Americans. And they're ready to turn the page and chart a new way forward. Yes. And I feel very optimistic about that.
This is rare that Republicans would endorse a Democrat. Harris says Iran has American blood on their hands.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands. Okay, this attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you have proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals.
Trump and his administration advanced Iran's nuclear capabilities. Vice President Harris said, "I'm going to have a Republican in my cabinet."
Listen, I plan on having a Republican in my cabinet. You asked me. I got a list. Yeah, right. You asked me what's the difference between Joe Biden and me. Well, that will be one of the differences. I'm going to have a Republican in my cabinet because I don't feel burdened by letting pride get in the way of a good idea. Yeah. Right.
No partisan politics here. Vice President Harris calls out Trump's lies about hurricane relief.
I want to talk about the recovery from Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
And in the light of the fact that Hurricane Milton has strengthened once again to a Category 5 hurricane and is headed for the west coast of Florida. You were down in Georgia and North Carolina, who are still in the midst of massive cleanup and rescue and recovery efforts. Still, what do people need to know?
Well, first of all, to all of those folks in North Carolina and Georgia, please know that FEMA and the people on the ground are there to help you. You are entitled to help. There's a lot of misinformation, and I beseech you, I beg you to please not pay attention to it because there are a whole lot of folks who are there to give you help and aid in terms of the immediate aftermath and what people need to do in terms of getting through the height of this emergency and this crisis, but also in terms of long-term help. And that means applying for it, knowing that the services are there. But I'll tell you, Stephen, I mean, there's so much devastation already from Hurricane Helene. I met a woman in Georgia who just days before lost her husband because a tree fell on their house and killed him.
Trump gave relief based on blue or red states. Vice President Harris said, "I wonder what Trump's staff is trying to hide."
Well, I wonder what is he hiding. I also wonder what his staff is trying to hide by preventing or suggesting he not debate me again, not do these interviews. It is the norm, as you know, that presidential nominees will do a 60 Minutes interview. He has refused to do that. He is pulling out of interviews left, right, and center. And I think that what we see about him in public, whether it be his rallies or, as you said, would it be called just a solo dance? I don't know.
I don't think that has a name to it.
Dance is really generous.
Yes, what that was. I think it does lead us, and it should lead us to observe that he is increasingly unstable. But you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to the people who know him best. The people who worked with him in the White House, in the Oval Office, in the Situation Room. his former chief of staff, 2 former secretaries of defense, his secretaries of defense, his former national security advisor, and of course his former vice president. And they have each talked about, the chief of staff, that Donald Trump has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. Not only has that been said by a former chief of staff of the former president, but we know he has openly talked about his intention to terminate the Constitution of the United States. I have taken that oath 6 times as district attorney, twice, elected and reelected as attorney general of the largest state in California, twice, as United States Senator, and actually now as vice president. And the Congresswoman and I have talked about that. That is an oath one must take seriously. It is a duty to defend and honor and uphold the Constitution of the United States. He has said he would terminate it. Anyone who wants to be president of the United States should never again be able to stand behind the seal of the President of the United States, having said they would terminate the Constitution.
They are hiding the fact that Trump has lost it. We are not going back.
We are not going back.
Trump wants us to go back, but we are not going back. Kamala's remarks on how Trump's campaign is rooted in fear.
Responds to Trump's claim that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to round up immigrants if he wins the election. This law was last used to put Asian Americans in internment camps during World War II, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared.
Yeah, so you've hit on a really important point and expressed it, I think, so well, which is he is achieving his intended effect to make you scared. He is running full-time on a campaign that is about instilling fear, not about hope, not about optimism, not about the future, but about fear. And so this is yet another example. Look what he did in saying that those legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were eating their pets. And by the way, the hypocrisy of it abounds, because on the issue of immigration, let's be clear. Some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, working with others, came up with a border security bill which was the strongest, toughest border security bill in a long, long time. It would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. It would have reduced the flow of fentanyl into our country, which is killing people all over our country of every race and background. It would have allowed us to do more work on prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done in my career. Trump got word that that bill was afoot, knew it would fix the problem, and told his buddies in Congress to kill the bill. And you know why? Because he would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And he's running his campaign in a way that he does these rallies where people, by the way, walk out, and does these rallies to try and instill fear around an issue where he actually could be part of a solution, but he chose not to because he prefers to run on a problem instead of fix a problem. And we got to call it out and see it for what it is.
Trump is trying to scare white Americans to death. Kamala Harris said, "We cannot despair."
But if I can just speak to what people are feeling. We cannot despair. We cannot despair. You know, the nature of a democracy is such that I think there's a duality. On the one hand, there's an incredible strength when our democracy is intact. An incredible strength in what it does to protect the freedoms and rights of its people. Oh, there's great strength in that. And it is very fragile. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. And And so that's the moment we're in. And I say do not despair, because in a democracy, as long as we can keep it in our democracy, the people, every individual has the power to make a decision about what this will be. And so let's not feel powerless. Let's not let and I get it, overwhelming nature of this all, make us feel powerless, because then we have been defeated. And that's not our character as the American people. We are not one to be defeated. We rise to a moment, and we stand on broad shoulders of people who have fought this fight before for our country. And in many ways, let us look at the challenge then that we are being presented and not be overwhelmed by it. The baton is now in our hands to fight for, not against, but for this country we love. That's what we have the power to do. So let's own that. Dare I say, be joyful in what we will do in the process of owning that, which is knowing that we can and will build community and coalitions and remind people that we're all in this together. Let's not let the overwhelming nature of this strip us of our strength. That's how I feel about this.
That was powerful, and Kamala tells it like it is. Kamala Harris said, I have a plan to help Black Americans.
We have done the work in the last 4 years of bringing down the cost of prescription medication, whether it be $35 a month for seniors for insulin or $2,000 a year cap on prescription medication. What we have done that has been about putting $17 billion in our HBCUs. I am proud to be the first HBCU Vice President of the United States. I intend to be the first HBCU President of the United States. Those resources are about sending them to centers of academic excellence that I know them to be. The work that I continue to do is about increasing access to capital for our small businesses. It is about increasing the opportunity for home ownership, knowing that Black people are 40% less likely to be homeowners in America. We have a history of legal and procedural obstacles to that home ownership, starting with the fact nobody got 40 acres and a mule, to redlining, to issues that this Detroit area and people around the country know to be real. So part of my plan is that we're going to give people a $25,000 down payment assistance to get their foot in the door to buy a home for first-time home buyers. The work that I'm going to do to increase housing supply in America, knowing that that's one of the reasons that rents and housing prices are jacked up, and to work with the private sector, cut through the red tape, and work to build more housing, 3 million, before the end of my first term. And I give these examples, and there are many more which I will offer. So, for example, the work that I will do to extend the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families during the first year of their child's life. Because as you and I both know, our families all have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. Mm-hmm. So by expanding the child tax credit to the first year of child's life to $6,000, that gives that young family the ability to buy a car seat or a crib or clothes, the things that are so important during that critical phase of that child's development, so that they can get on the road and actually have a chance at succeeding.
Listen, young Black men, Kamala is talking directly to you. Kamala Harris said, if I respond to every name he called me. On second thought, I'm going to leave that right there and move on to Barack Obama speaking to young Black men.
You find out we're just making stuff up. You'd at least give them a talking to. And you sure wouldn't put them in charge of anything. So, I didn't mean to get so serious. But when I hear about this stuff, I start feeling like we don't have enough of the sense of what's at stake here. These aren't ordinary times, and these are not ordinary elections. You're lucky Michelle's not here. She really talking serious about this stuff. So, but here's the good news, right? The good news is that not only has made us proud. She has been out there. If you got that one, I hope y'all watched the debate, because that wasn't close. That was like Mike Tyson. It was like, oh man, stop that now. So we know she can do the job, and she's got an outstanding partner in Tim Walz. And so we can take pride and feel good about nominating. This isn't just a matter of.
Under Project 2025, young blacks have no future. Trump says black Americans and Hispanic Americans have to have their heads examined.
But any African American or Hispanic, and you know how well I'm doing there, that votes for Kamala, you got to have your head examined, because they are really screwing you.
And people of color who vote for Trump should definitely have their heads examined. Trump said, "I'm basically a truthful person."
I have a hard time doing it to them because I'm basically a truthful person. But
Basically truthful meant that Trump is mostly a liar. Trump said politics can do strange things to demented people.
I refuse to mention his name. You know what? Politics can do strange things to demented people.
Trump is definitely talking about himself, and it definitely has. Trump said it will be a privilege for Americans to pay his 20% tax.
And various others. They will be forced to pay stiff tariffs to. And remember this is a privilege. William McKinley, this is a privilege.
Trump plans to tax all Americans except for his rich buddies. Trump in Detroit. The whole country will be like Detroit.
I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on our list. I mean, the whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands.
Once again, Trump degrades a black city. Trump's message to women. Ratings and reviews can help the Black Man in America podcast reach a wider audience, and donations will improve the quality of our content. To donate, just click on the support the show link. Thank you.
There who, maybe don't like this tweet or this joke or this nickname. Tonight, what do you say to them about the safety of our homeland?
I say to the women, and I think I do very well with the women, actually. I think it's a lot of fake polling. I think I do very well because I say, I will keep you safe. I'm not going to allow prisoners to come out from Venezuela and many other countries all over the world, the Congo, the Middle East. They come out from the Congo in tremendous numbers. They're coming out of the Middle East, Yemen, and lots of countries that aren't particularly friendly to us. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm not going to let people hurt you. I'm going to have a very strong...
They were bugged by that, the protector line. Like some of the... people went crazy about that. He said he's going to be my protector that's looking down on us, or that's patronizing.
I'm looking up at them. I am going to protect. I'm going to protect men, too. It's my job to protect as president. They don't protect right now. When they let 13,099 murders, these are people in prison, some getting ready for the death penalty, and they allowed them to come into our country. When I get them out and when I say it's not happening and when I close the border so that bad people, we want people in our country, but they have to be people that are capable of loving our country and that are good people. They have to go past tests. So I say to people, and I'm not ashamed of that. I saw a couple of wise guys on the left saying, oh, who was he? I want to protect women. I'm going to protect women, and I'm going to protect men, and I'm going to protect children. And that's my obligation to do it with the military and with law enforcement.
Trump did a piss poor job protecting Americans on January 6th. Trump said, I have made a nuclear deal with Iran.
Our nuclear is the best in the world, and Russia's right behind us. You know what? I'll tell you, you never want to use it. If you have to use it, it's obliteration. It's a dangerous thing. And Iran is very close to getting it. They would have never had it with me. I would have had a deal a long time ago because they were bust. They were totally bust. They were ready to make a deal. They would have made a deal, and these guys didn't do anything. I mean, we did. When you think
Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal and didn't do a thing. Trump secretly sending COVID tests to Putin.
I talked to Putin a lot. I got along with him well. And I know Putin so well. I'd like to congratulate Vladimir Putin for having made yet another great deal. Did you see the deal we made?
Talk to him like that.
Oh, no, I had a very good relationship. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I'm trying to tell people, no, it's a good thing. When you see Putin and you see all of these people, they're at the top of their game. And I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin. And I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango, you know.
Trump is Putin's lackey and probably gave him some top secret documents. Trump said Elon Musk gives me $45 million a month.
And so or other, we have to make life good for our smart people, you know. We have some smart people. We have to make life good for our smart people. And he's as smart as you get. But Elon endorsed me the other day, and I didn't even know this. He didn't even tell me about it. But he gives me $45 million a month.
Elon didn't tell Trump about it because Elon denied this was even happening. Trump said these things were coming, cylinders, no wings, no nothing.
It's a very big plant. Many countries, they do that, and then all of a sudden you hear that they're leaving Milwaukee or they're leaving wherever they may be located. It's very sad to see it. And it's so simple. I mean, you know, this isn't like Elon with his rocket ships that land within 12 inches on the moon where they wanted to land. Or he gets the engines back. That was the first I realized. I said, who the hell did that? I saw engines about 3-4 years ago. These things were coming, cylinders, no wings, no nothing. And they're coming down very slowly, landing on a raft in the middle of the ocean someplace with a circle. Boom. Reminded me of the Biden circles that he used to have, right? He'd have 8 circles and he couldn't fill them up. But then I heard he beat us with the popular vote. I don't know. Couldn't fill up the 8 circles. I always loved those circles. They were so beautiful. They were so beautiful to look at. In fact, the person that did them, that was the best thing about the level of that circle was great. But they couldn't get people, so they used to have the press stand in those circles because they couldn't get the people. Then I heard we lost. Oh, we lost. No, we're never going to let that happen again. But we've been abused by other countries. We've been abused by our own politicians, really more than other countries. I can't a very big place.
What I got out of that rant is that Trump admitted that he lost the election. Trump said people aren't leaving.
I said, do they mind a little bit longer speech? Because, you know, it is big. It is a big subject. No, sir. They love it. And I haven't noticed anybody leaving. There was one gentleman over there, but he came back. He went to the bathroom. And what the fake news will do is take a picture of one empty seat, say, people are fleeing. No, they don't flee. Nobody's fleeing. Nobody's leaving. I always watch. If they start to leave, I just end the speech. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to make America great again. Enjoy yourself. No, I do that.
This is for good fathers who know how important it is to protect their daughter.
Heart rate at 130. Blood pressure dropping or over 50. Finger clamp or over 50.
It didn't need to end this way, Dad. You were so excited to be a grandfather. When you walked me down the aisle, those were happy tears. College, high school, sports. I could always count on you. You were my protector, my hero. You always made me feel safe, loved, like I was the most important person in the world. But it turned out he was more important.
The fact that I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade after 50 years of trying.
Each one of those abortion bans includes strict legal rules that are designed to be impossible to comply with. How does a mother who is dying in a hospital bed get to a courthouse to prove to a judge that she's dying?
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
You knew what he'd do. You knew his politics would end my freedom, my rights. My life. You chose hate over me.
As fathers, we need to protect our daughters from Donald Trump. That's it for today's episode. Remember, leadership isn't just about power. It's about people. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share Black Men in America. Until next time, this is OG FOXXIE signing off. Keep striving, keep questioning, keep pushing, and may God bless us all. Black Men in America podcast and OG FOXXIE production. Love and peace to us all.